Welcome to Here's How We Get There. It's the daily show filled with conversations about business and mental health in a down-to-earth style with real-world language. Now let's dive in with your co-hosts, Kenneth Shark Kinney and Trey Tucker.
All right, Shark. Chip Kelly has surprised a lot of people. He left his position as head coach of UCLA, took an assistant coach job with Ohio State to be their offensive coordinator. A lot of people think it's because he eventually and pretty quickly wants to become an offensive coordinator in the NFL, because a lot of coaches in the college levels are trying to flee all the NIL and transfer stuff and get back to the league. So looking at Chip Kelly's decision, what does this mean for anybody who might want a promotion in the job that they're at now? What advice can you take away from Chip's decision that might be applicable to a broader population?
Well, forever, in the early stages of my own career, I felt like I could make all the change inside the four walls I was in. And I learned over time that even in big corporations or small, it's really hard to do that. And you could have the greatest idea on the planet, but if you're kind of boxed into where they have boxed you in, you don't get an audience that listens to your ideas, that recognizes your talents. And corporations have changed. The loyalty hasn't been there in decades. So why beat yourself up? Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't give it the old college try and then some, but sometimes you got to recognize truly why it is you're not being seen and heard, the kids love to say. You got to figure out why your ideas, why your change, what you're trying to do and implement isn't being seen and heard and rewarded. It could be you, but sometimes it takes a change in location. And I think most people are finding that out and not handling it necessarily the greatest way. You see a lot of turnover now at companies, but people are recognizing that if they're running into maybe not even a brick wall, but just a softer wall, that it's time to move on. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. My dad worked in education, and he worked first for a school that was a really strong school, and so much so that nobody ever left. And he was able to work his way up to a pretty high level in that school, but he wanted to run his own school, and he knew that the person ahead of him, wasn't leaving anytime soon. So he always told me, because we had to move because of it. He said, "Look, if you want to move up, you got to move around." And he said, if you're just going to keep waiting and waiting to get promoted at the place you're in, it may happen. But if you're in a pretty strong place where other people want to be, you're not going to get many opportunities, even if they think you are great, however talented you are or not, you just might not get openings to even be available for. So I always took that to heart and realized, yeah, if you really want to move up, you can't stay attached to what's familiar, to the people around you so much. You have to be willing to take a chance.
Well, and I also think about this a little bit with how your personal branding, if you will. A lot of people think, I remember working in education, everybody there thought they could be president or coach of whatever the team it was. Everybody had an opinion on it.
Right.
Not everybody had the right packaging, if you will, for anybody to ever consider them that way. So I think sometimes people will have to look at themselves really in the mirror and say, do you have what is needed to offer? Just because you tell yourself, I can do this job that somebody higher up has, is not always true. So,
nope.
Thank you for joining Shark and Trey on the Here's How We Get There show. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and visit here'showwegetthere.com. That's here'showwegetthere.com.